This video right here, man, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Crystal. The thing I like about having this conversation is that there's so much to potentially talk about with what's going on in this clip. But as you all know, you have Trump and the Democratic establishment and even some elements of the Republican establishment, like, he's destroyed them and he hates them, and he said a million things about revenge and vengeance and retribution and going after his political opponents and locking up the enemy within and all this stuff, and just ruthless going after them. And, I saw Obama on the campaign trail going after Trump, really viciously going after him, hitting him on every negative quality that he has, which is literally like every single one. And but here we have at Jimmy Carter's funeral, you see Trump and Obama. Not only do they get together, they're sitting next to each other and seemingly having like a pleasant conversation. Take a look at the video.
Okay, I couldn't see it from the angle I was at. Obama and Trump sitting next to each other, talking to each other there. But President Obama did say hello to Marilyn Quayle and former Vice President Dan Quayle.
Wow, that's such an image there.
That is an image.
It's
I mean,
good.
you don't
Good
see,
image.
it's always striking whenever you see any of these people who were political opponents, although Obama and Trump never ran against each other.
Now, by the way, George W. Bush walks up, goes right past Trump, no eye contact, no acknowledgement, taps Barack Obama on the belly, and then goes sits down next to him. There's also a picture everybody showing of all the, former presidents and current going-to-be president sitting in the front row next to their wives. Apparently, there was a very, very cold relationship, or cold reaction, or non-reaction, I should say, between, I think it was Melania Trump and Mike Pence's wife.
Karen.
So Trump and Pence actually shook hands, but the wives were sort of like, with that little go fuck yourself type vibe, right? So, and I'm already seeing, so I'm curious to get your, just like what you think they were talking about. We could discuss that in a second, but you also have people, I've seen a lot of responses. Some of them are going, well, this is Obama kind of like kissing the ring to try to get on his good side so that there is no political retribution and like basically cucking himself. Other people are going with it's a big club and you ain't in it. Reaction is one thing that I've seen quite a bit.
My instant vibe.
Is that so? That's your feeling about it?
That's my Insta read. That's my Insta read because I mean it's similar to like. I mean, with Joe and Mika going to Mar-a-Lago, like what was that about? Number one,
that is kissing the ring for sure.
It's kissing the ring.
Yeah.
And number two, it's a revelation that like the things you were saying about Trump, you didn't actually mean. Like when you were saying that he was a fascist, which he is, when you were saying that he's like akin to Hitler or whatever, like you did that because it was a profitable lane for you to be in and you didn't really mean it. And I think that's true with Obama. I think, he has been much more concerned politically with the threats to his own legacy, which come from the left, than with the rise of Trump. I mean, the three people who are most responsible for Trump's time in office are Hillary Clinton, who lost to him, Joe Biden, who lost to him, and Barack Obama. Because immediately after the Obama era is when you get Trump. Obama basically is, the person who anointed Hillary to be the Democratic nominee and then make sure that the DNC chair is not the Bernie Sanders pick and has been very involved at strategic points to make sure that the Bernie Sanders left of the party doesn't rise. That has been his primary goal. So when you think of it in that context, like he didn't really think that Trump was the end of the republic, or he doesn't really care that much about the impact of Trump because his legacy versus looking at Trump, well, that looks okay and that looks relatively, that looks more preserved when you have the contrast with Trump. The George W. Bush snubbing Trump instead also makes sense because Trump has destroyed any brand he had within the Republican Party.
To be fair, George W. Bush destroyed his own legacy, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, true. But, Bush had a hold on this party. His son and his relatives and whatever, like this was a political dynasty that, yes, he destroyed it himself, but also, Trump directly defeats his brother Jeb and destroys the Bush brand, etc. So, his own ego and his legacy preservation was completely decimated by Trump. So from that like narcissistic perspective, it makes sense to me that George W. Bush would be more peeved at Trump and hate him more than Barack Obama.
Imagine being George W. Bush. You're this massive warmonger that sort of like defines your presidency, right?
Yeah.
But then up comes Trump, and he's like shitting on the idea of warmongering, and then in the next breath doing his own warmongering and getting away with it. If I was George W. Bush, I'd be like, what the fuck, bro? I thought you guys didn't like me for the warmongering. Now this guy's talking about taking Greenland from Denmark and taking the Panama Canal and threatening Canada with economic coercion to become a U.S. state. Never mind ripping up the Iran agreement. Never mind the increase in the drone
Threatening
strikes.
war with Mexico also.
More
yeah.
Mexico war with Iran. Like, if you're George W. Bush, you got to be like, this is just like, fuck this, bro. Fuck this 1,000 times over. But like, so my first reaction watching this was, this is kind of like the opposite of a spicy take. I was like, it really looks to me like they're just doing small talk, right? Like anybody, when you first sit next to somebody, you're not coming in hot, right? It's just like, what's up, bro? Like, it's a little bit of that, right?
Yeah, like, oh, it's really cold outside. Yeah.
but I got some breaking news for you. So this is all alleged, but you know how some people are like lip readers or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the first experts, I guess you could say,
Okay.
who are trying to say what they were saying.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So now it's the New York Post. New York Post is trash. Take that for what it's worth. But the title is Trump tells Obama they will find a quiet place to discuss a matter of importance at Carter funeral. Former President Barack Obama and Trump had what appeared to be a warm conversation Thursday ahead of Jimmy Carter's funeral, but a professional lip reader told the Post that their smiles and laughter belied more serious substance. So they go on to say they would, quote, find a quiet place later in the day to discuss a matter of importance, according to forensic lip reader Jeremy Freeman. It's unclear what precisely that conversation would entail, but Obama and Trump appear to be discussing international agreements, according to Freeman's translation. At one point, Trump leaned toward Obama and said, I've pulled out of that. It's the conditions. Can you imagine that? Obama laughed as Trump added, and after, I will, before the pooled TV camera feed cut away from the men who were bracketed by the former First Lady Laura Bush and Trump's wife Melania. Call me at the foy after. Yep. Trump replied to Obama during their exchange, possibly referring to the National Cathedral's foyer. Obama then said, you can just, it should be good. I can talk. We have to find a quiet place sometime. This is a matter of importance, and we need to do this outside so that we can deal with it. Certainly today, Trump said, as Obama nodded. During Trump's first term, he notably withdrew from Obama's Iran agreement, blah, 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 blah. I think that's all we got in terms of what they think he was saying. So,
They're thinking that they were talking about Iran?
Just some sort of international issue, right? That's what it seems like. Which would actually fly directly in the face of the thing I just said, which is, hey, they're talking, it seems like small talk or whatever. If they're talking about some, like, international trade agreement or some Iranian type thing.
Yeah.
But isn't it weird that, like...
But what made them chuckle? None of that was funny.
Yeah, they were none of that was funny, so that makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, if you're Trump, you're not going to ask Obama his opinion on some shit in public after you for years have been going around calling him the founder of ISIS. Why are you asking the founder of ISIS for advice, bro? Right?
Yeah, but I mean, Trump also doesn't mean the shit that he's like. Anyone who's willing to sort of prostrate themselves in front of Donald Trump, he is willing to.
That's a funny word.
He is willing to forgive and forget. So, you know, if Obama is effectively with his like jovial camaraderie, it's a sort of like, you know, it's a sort of like submission move by.
You're making the argument that Trump's like a dog, right?
No, I mean, that's
if you show subservience,
it's
then he's
true.
like, right, that's good.
No, that's true. And that's effectively
sad.
what Obama is doing there in that conversation is, you know, and so.
I don't get that body language from Obama, though.
If you really believed about Trump, the things that, you know, Obama and the Democrats claim to believe, like you just sit down and have this like friendly little, you know, giggling together moment. No, you don't. And so, yeah, I think
they're at a funeral, right? Like you're not gonna. It's like that famous meme of that dude showing up at like his op's funeral and he's like, funeral food be tasting so good, and he's standing there like stunting at a funeral. Like Obama is not going to do that at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Like, what's he supposed to have a mean mug on? Oh, I don't like you. Like, what is that?
I mean, yeah, kind of. Like, if you meant what you said,
just stay away.
Yeah.
Just stay away. It's got nothing to do with what your facial expression is or
would you go
whatever.
and hang out there and buddy with Trump and like whisper in his ear and tell a little joke? No,
No,
you
but I
wouldn't.
also wasn't the former president of the United States at a time when all the former presidents are sitting in the front row together, right? Like, I don't know who decided on that as what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like, they're all sitting. It's like you don't really have a choice. You're all sitting next to each other. It's like to use like a mafia example, if the top don, somebody dies and the top don decides all of the smaller families' bosses are going to be sitting in the front row and you got beef with the one that's 2 seats down, like, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to walk in like, yeah, bro, I don't like you, bro. Like, nobody's going to do that, right?
Yeah, people did. George W. Bush did. Karen Pence did. So
But
you do
also,
have other...
Their seat was not directly next to Trump.
There's
Obama's seat was directly next to Trump. Was that assigned?
range.
Was that assigned?
I was wondering that too.
I would guess yes, because if Obama had a choice, he's not going to sit right next to Trump on purpose.
Maybe.
Because you're just asking for it to be awkward as fuck, right?
Yeah, maybe.
You're asking for that to be really, if you're like, oh, I have every seat in the row, but I'm going to go right next to him. No, you're not doing that. It's got to be assigned. It's got to be assigned seats. I'd be shocked if it wasn't assigned seats.
Yeah.
Right?
But
also, you're a former president. You can do what you want. You can be like, I'm not sitting there, right?
True.
Like, as if some, like, staffer made, here's where everybody sits, and, like, the former president's going to defer to, like, Barbara in accounting decided I'm sitting right next
I guess I am. Yeah. But I'm just saying there's a range of ways you could approach that, and Obama decided to approach it in the most, like, warm and congenial way.
So you view it as, like, in the same way,
these are all
Joe
intentional choices.
Joe
Yeah,
and
I
Mika
do,
cucking
totally.
themselves to Trump and all these other
Zuckerberg,
people.
absolutely.
You view
Absolutely.
it as the same way as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that actually
And
links...
it has never been Obama's primary political goal to defeat Trump. His primary political goal was crushing the left and preserving his legacy, because he looks bad in compare. If Bernie Sanders comes in and does Medicare for all, he looks bad. Obamacare looks like shit. And so he has wanted to preserve his control and his brand influence in the Democratic Party, and he has successfully done that. So,
But I do think that, I mean, he went hard for Kamala, right? So he was really giving his seal of approval to Kamala in a way that he didn't really campaign for Biden like that. He didn't really campaign for Hillary like that. He really was all in. He did more events for Kamala than he did for anybody else.
maybe more events, but I mean, he did go all in for Hillary. He is the reason Biden didn't run in 2016, because Obama
That's true.
picked
Yeah, I know that.
Hillary. And on the campaign trail, you know, he really made it like, you know, if you vote against her, you're voting against me and what I believe and what I stand for, my legacy, et cetera. And so, I mean, he definitely was all in there as well, backing her.
Well, I'm just saying, from my perspective, I feel like I covered a lot of stories of Obama doing rallies, trying to get Kamala elected and really shitting on Trump and doing, I thought, a pretty good job, if I'm being honest with you. And so I do think he views it as a blow to his legacy. I agree with your point that if Bernie were to get in there and Bernie were to revive FDRism, that it really sort of just totally destroys Obama's legacy.
Yeah,
but
and his
I also
pull
think his
in
legacy
the
is still
Democratic-
destroyed.
and his
with
pull
Trump.
in the Democratic Party, because now you still, I mean, the people who ran Kamala's campaign, some of them were Obama people, you know, and he's like, all those people are preserved in their positions. So yeah, I'm not saying he's like happy Trump won. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was not his primary political project, was not about Trump. His primary political project in his post-presidency has been about his own brand preservation, you know, with his Netflix deals and whatever, but also in terms of when he has intervened, it's been to crush the Bernie Sanders left, and he accomplished that, and congratulations.
Well, you saw the poll where 53% of Republicans are now saying scrap the, I forget which amendment it is, the one that has 2 term limits for presidents. The Republicans are now like, yeah, get rid of that.
You think Obama would run again?
Oh, if they were to actually get rid of that to try to let Trump run again, absolutely.
You think he would? I don't know
and
if he would.
I think Obama would win. Easy. Because I think by then Trump's brain is going to be oatmeal.
If it was,
and he's going to have no juice anymore, and there's going to be a crash in the economy, and he's going to look like totally fucking ineffectual. And I think Obama would cakewalk on it.
Yeah, I don't know if he would run again or not, but
really?
Anyway. Yeah, I don't know.
He does seem
I mean,
like happy personally, right?
Being
but
the president's a pain in the ass.
But you always, you know, if you're that level of narcissist where you ran for president in the first place, that fire's always sort of burning inside you. It's not enough for you to wake up and go read a book on the patio and take a shower. Like, you want to be in the mix, right? He probably still wants to be in the mix. Hey guys, we talked to Owen Jones about Elon Musk now trying to bully and buy his way into UK politics in the same way that Elon bought Donald Trump and bought the Republican Party and is now the shadow president of the US. He's making similar moves vis-a-vis the UK, so we break all that down. Everybody sign up below and you'll see the full interview.